guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. I'm gonna move this a little bit. Okay, better. All right, today is the 13th of December. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to have the high of 68, and it's, 59 degrees now. So it's starting to warm up. It's sunny. It's nippy, though. It was cold last night. All right. I'm going to start by going into the live stream and make sure we got sound and picture and put a couple of posts up while people are coming in. All right. Sound and picture looking good. And let me get my email address up and we'll get going. Just another few seconds. Okay, got everything done. I'm going to block anybody with these nasty remarks directed at me, the Bible, God, Israel, Jews, whatever. Nasty, insulting remarks are not from people that want to come in here and learn anything. It's people that want to create disturbances and insults. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. I suppose, where should we start? Well, Ukraine. Biden gave Ukraine approximately $500 million, $500 million of aid. He gave Ukraine various vehicles that are resilient or resistant to driving over a landmine. America's used those in other countries with pretty good success. Now, he's also giving them all kinds of missiles, defensive missiles, offensive missiles, anti-tank missiles and rockets, artillery, the kitchen sink, $500 million. That's going to last him a long time. It's rather obvious that, Trump wants to end Ukraine war and Biden wants to crank it up as much as he can before he leaves office. This is rather obvious. Ukraine, a day or two ago, hit a number of Russian targets with their longer range missiles, including a Russian air base. Russia's routinely taking the path of Iran and other places, like Syria, not so much Syria, but mostly Iran, and I'm not sure what other countries we heard it. They say they knocked the missiles down and nothing happened. I don't believe it. And Russia's getting ready to hit Ukraine hard. Russia's saying they've got 20 of these new IRBM missiles now. They might have gone into rapid production for them. And they're going to launch them at Ukraine. I am most certain they're not going to have nukes. And they're also, according to American Intel, preparing bombers or jets in general to get ready to attack Ukraine with a big bombing run. So what we're seeing is more of the same. Ukraine goes in and hurts Russia. Russia goes in and hurts Ukraine, and back and forth and back and forth. Nobody has the upper hand. It's beginning to look like Russia is more or less a big mouth lying talker like Ukraine or Hezbollah about how mean and tough and hard to defeat they are and all that stuff. And so far, have we seen Russia do anything serious? No, we haven't. Will Russia try to aggressively attack Ukraine? Yes. That they're not very scared of. But you got to understand, Ukraine is knocking off military installations in West Russia near Ukraine. They got missile capability to go almost 90 miles now into Russia. So they're knocking off bases, installations, and also oil refineries and things like this that Russia has near, military things that Russia has near Ukraine, so they could transport things into Ukraine rapidly. And it appears that Russia is going to have to move these installations further back, probably go more than 100 miles or maybe 120 miles in, so the existing missiles Ukraine currently has can't reach that far in. But that increases the distance that Russia has to cover to transport goods into their forces in Ukraine. So that's not a major deficiency, but it's, it slows Russia down and it makes life harder for Russia. People say Russia lost 600,000 soldiers in Ukraine. I don't have any idea if it's that high. It sounds extremely high, but I have no idea. But they lost a considerable amount of troops wounded and killed, and then they lost a large amount of equipment and everything else. So Russia has got a lot of production capability on missiles and other things, bombs, military equipment, and they keep pushing further in. I mean, they keep hitting Ukraine harder, and NATO keeps dumping weapons. America's part of NATO keeps dumping weapons into Ukraine to keep the fight going. And this is a fight that likely Trump will inherit. It seems to me Biden will be provoking this right up until January, the 20th, the inauguration. And then right before that, he might light it up even heavier. So I don't see in the horizon Biden trying to stop the swearing in of Trump and saying America's in a crucial war and we can't change the administration. I don't see that. I don't see that. I thought that might happen a long time ago, but no. It may be with the election he could have tried it, but I don't see it. He's giving Trump a big mess that Trump is very likely not going to be able to unravel. Okay. NATO is talking about putting 40,000 troops in Ukraine. Maybe under Trump this will happen. That's the insinuation. Put it on the line, so the territory Russia conquered and Ukraine proper, there'll be a line and 40,000 NATO troops on the Ukraine side to act as peacekeepers and stop it. Now, usually to stop something like that, they'd use 2, 3, 400 troops or less, even not 40,000. Okay, Putin's not going to think that's nice. He's going to think it's a beginning to going into the area that he grabbed in Ukraine and take it back. I don't think the NATO troops are going to try to jump into the area that Putin has in Ukraine and stop the advance there. In other words, isolate the Russian troops that are occupying Ukraine. I don't see that. So that's what we're seeing in Ukraine. More of the same thing, one side hurts the other side hurts the other, and then you see all these, reports in various media. Russia's annihilating Ukraine, Ukraine's annihilating Russia, Russia's done, Ukraine's done. It's more or less mutual destruction. That's what I see here. They're both taking tremendous losses. The head of NATO, the numero uno, said that NATO got to get ready for a war with Russia, and NATO's not prepared. I think he's speaking the truth. NATO is not ill-prepared completely. I think what he means is NATO hasn't raised enough, produced enough weapons yet. If we take the other position, Russia really is very powerful. They just don't want to use their weapons because they're afraid of a big war. Well, what would happen in a big war with NATO is undoubtedly Russia would be very much overwhelmed because NATO's all around their borders. And, Russia would be faced with opening, having like a 7-front war or something like that, which would be pretty bad. Israel has the 7-front war, but we're fighting the likes of, Hamas, Hezbollah, not fighting NATO armies, with modern weapons and air forces and navies and anti-missile missiles and long-range missiles and bombers and stealth jets. It's not a comparison. It would be overwhelming for Putin. Seriously. Russia would suffer tremendous damage. They would hit what are some of the targets they would hit? Well, they would try to stop troop movements in key places around Russia, on the part of Russia, so they'd hit bridges, railroad lines, right? Logistics. They might hit power stations and knock the electricity out. They might hit cell phone towers, okay? Depending how desperate they get. But starting out with hitting bridges, first is the radar. That's the first thing you're going to try to do, is knock out Putin's radar. Now, they gave Ukraine anti-radar missiles. Now, Israel has these. We call them a Delilah. It's a cruise missile. When like Syria used these a long time ago, they turned on their radar, and Israel launched 2 Delilah missiles. They flew right over my house. It was a really unusual sound. Not a comforting sound. It's like a roar with a shriek. And they took out Assad's radars. This is perhaps 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago. So they get locked onto the radar beam, and they follow the radar beam to the radar and then blow it up. So when Putin turns his radar on, Ukraine will very shortly have missiles that can follow the radar beam and blow the radar up. Putin's anti-missile systems have not proved very effective. even is S-400. Now, they have S-500, but I would think Putin has very few, or maybe 2 or 3, or I don't know. I really don't know how many he has. And I'm of the opinion they're better than the S-400, but they're not good enough to knock out stealth missiles, and they may not be good enough to knock out smart missiles. I don't know. He hasn't really deployed the S-500 very much at all, or maybe not at all. So we don't know, but he doesn't have a ton of them. All right. So they get the radar, and then they're going to hit air bases. They're going to want to take out aircraft, right? That's a big threat. And they're not going to play games and open up holes in the runway like Israel does, because they're not going to worry about the UN breathing down their neck. They're all in the UN. So that's not going to happen. They're going to hit the control towers, aircraft on the ground, hangars, radar at the airbase, everything, and try to disable the airbase seriously, like for months. Okay? And destroy aircraft. Then they're going to hit missile launch sites. They're going to hit bridges and railroads that the military uses to move things around, maybe even roads, maybe power stations. They're definitely going to hit gasoline storage for the jets and the tanks and the vehicles, the trucks, the cars, and everything. They might hit Russia's ports to disable Black Sea activity. So the general plan will be to knock out the radar, knock out the aircraft, knock out the missiles of all different flavors, surface to surface, ground to air, everything. And then after that, if Putin is still kicking against them, would come a ground invasion with armor. Okay? But before they do that, they have to get air superiority or it'll be a bloodbath. So they won't invade unless they get air superiority. Now, Russia will try the same thing against some of the weaker countries to try to get air superiority. I don't know how well he'll do. You know, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, maybe Norway, Denmark, Sweden. He may go to Georgia. There are various countries. And then, of course, his big prizes would be Poland and Romania, which are in NATO. And I don't know what Putin's war game would be. I don't think anybody knows. You just got to wait. The problem that Putin has, and you got to listen to this, is as he's fighting all these other fronts around Europe with NATO, and probably the EU would join in too, which makes it worse for Russia, because a lot of these countries in NATO are in the EU. So just because they're in NATO doesn't mean that the EU is going to abandon them. They won't. They play the all for one for all game too. Okay. So Ukraine will try to push deeper into first expel the Russians out of Ukraine and then try to grab more land in Russia and create a large buffer zone, maybe 100 miles if they could. And that would cripple Putin's ability to attack Ukraine, and we'll explain that. Ukraine's radar would give them a lot of warning time compared to what they have now. If Russian jets were coming, Russian bombers, Russian missiles, Russian helicopters, Russian on-the-ground convoys of troops. So that's very important to Ukraine. Plus, they would be occupying the buffer zone, so they would have the option of pushing further, making 100 miles, 200 miles. The plan would be to divide Russia up into pieces. That would be the plan. Who's going to wind up with the Russian oil fields would probably be a consortium of the NATO nations. They'd probably all grab some, I don't know exactly how it would work, but they would do something like that. Now, the I think it's Gazprom lines into parts of Europe where Russia supplies them with energy, those would probably go down. They would probably take out the Russian oil refineries as well because they don't know how long the war is going to last, and fuel for vehicles and aircraft is essential in a war, big time. So they would not say, well, we're going to own Russia in 30 days, so let's just leave it up so we can use it. Because they don't know they're going to own Russia in 30 days. And they're also going to keep trying to bring Russia to their knees and get a surrender from Russia. The terms of that surrender are going to be grueling, and I don't think Putin's going to be likely to agree to it. Now, the irony here is if Putin just never bothered with Ukraine, none of this would have happened, would it? Okay. But you're not hearing that from Putin. What you're hearing is the West is picking on him because they don't want him chipping off pieces of Europe and putting them into Mother Russia. So Putin, well, they're picking a fight with us. Well, Putin, you jerk, if you just never did what you did with Ukraine, it never would have happened, would it? Now, you also never should lose sight of the facts that Putin and China and North Korea and Iran are trying to destroy America and Europe by using BRICS to trade in oil and food and other things, not using the US dollar or the euro. And it won't demolish the dollar, but it will damage it a lot. And Trump's position is, well, everybody in BRICS that participates in this will put 100% sanction on. So anything they want to sell in the United States, it's double. That's what 100% sanctions are. So if Germany, who sells a lot of cars, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, BMW motorcycles, if they try to sell a Mercedes, let's say a $70,000 Mercedes in America, it's now a $140,000 Mercedes. So that means their sales in America would probably go down by 80%. Dealerships would fold. Getting service would be not so easy because the dealerships would maybe close. Dealerships could make a living on service, but that's not how to get rich. So Germany wouldn't play ball with BRICS, but some of the other countries would probably like to, and then they would suffer. Look at Italy. What do they sell? Well, of course, they sell Ferrari, Lamborghini, and stuff like that. But that's not substantial money. They sell Fiat, which makes trucks and everything, and that's huge. Fiat's big money. Okay, but they sell other things. They sell clothing, Italian designer clothing. Gucci is Italian, I believe, and places things like that. They have a big perfume industry, makeup and things like that. Women like to buy. France sells Citroën, and they have another car they sell. What the heck is it? Peugeot. And, they're not going to want that. But these are the countries that, would probably side with America, on their own. They don't. But, that's what Trump's trying to do. So if China, that means Trump's going to put 100% tax on things coming in from China. Now, I don't know what, China's still selling in America, but they used to sell a lot of hand tools, air conditioners, refrigerators, ovens, stoves, things like this, heaters, appliances, freezers and things, and that could hurt them. clothing. Trump is rocking the boat. You know, um, and it could go two ways. It could go that the countries say, well, we don't want to have a fight over this with the tariffs, so the heck with BRICS. The other side of the coin is what BRICS is going to tell them. Look how America has weaponized the U.S. dollar, and you could say it with the euro probably, but Trump's just going after the U.S. dollar. So he's saying, they're going to say, well, he weaponized it. You need to hang tough, and we need to break Trump. And if they do that, they will break Trump. That's for sure. So, do I see the Russian war blowing up immediately? I don't see it blowing up unless one or two things happens. One would be they see Ukraine falling and NATO stops it, which is what they'll do, peacekeeper deal. The other way is somehow there's fighting between Russia and NATO. Then it's not important who starts it. If one of those two things doesn't happen, I don't think you'll have a world war with them. Okay? But it is pretty tense and it can get close. Drones. I think it was yesterday, mystery drones, were seen in Virginia, California, and New York over the airport. I think it was LaGuardia. New York has two airports, LaGuardia and JFK. I believe it was LaGuardia. It could have been JFK, but I think it was LaGuardia. More of these mystery drones. More and more people are saying, yes, there is an Iranian mothership. Now, I believe America enforces their waters out 25 miles. Somebody said it's only 13.8, but I think America pushes it 25 miles. But they also are very concerned with any ships within 200 miles. So the Iranian ship, number one, would turn off its transponders, right? Okay. That would be suspicious if they knew where the ship was. Regular container ships and, tanker ships, grain ships, and, all of these kind of things will run their transponder because they want to comply and it's safe. American warships usually go out to that 13.8 or 25-mile line with transponders on, and then they shut them off. That's standard practice. So the Iranian ship's not going to look like a warship. What it would look like is one of a few things. Probably a container ship that has a reasonable amount of deck space that they can launch drones from, and they could store drones under the deck inside the boat, hundreds of them. They could have a 800 foot, or probably at least a 350, 400 foot boat up to probably 600 foot, probably in that range, maybe bigger. Could launch hundreds of drones. Because you got the whole deck space to store, the thing's probably 60 or 80 feet wide. Large cruise ships get out 140 feet wide, so it could be rather wide, okay? And it's going to go down probably, under the deck at least 3 levels. They can put a lot of drones in there. And the launching with the drones is not as sophisticated as launching missiles. And the ship would have radar on it, which most ships do. Short range. The ships are looking for what's around them, maybe, out 100 miles or less. They're not worried about 800 miles or anything like that. So their radar is going to work more short range, So the drones are still flowing and they're up to no good. somebody identified drones like this and said they cost $170,000. I don't know how this person figured that out because they don't know what the heck's in the drone. They don't know what kind of encrypted communications it has. That alone could be more than $170,000. They don't know what kind of engines or motors it has. They don't know what kind of batteries it has. They don't know what kind of GPS, night vision, day vision, or what. I don't know anything. So I wouldn't pay attention to that. Um, America, trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, they may not want to attack these drones because they want to study them. They want to observe listen to the communications and try to figure out how to jam the communications, which would bring the drone down. They may want to track the drone to its origin so they know where they came from, but I'm pretty sure they did that already. So things are suspicious there, but not any more suspicious than the open borders. And the two are consistent. It makes it look like Biden wants to change the face of America rather permanently, or no more America, or wants Trump to inherit a massive mess. So, you might see a tanker or a grain ship or a container ship that's flagged in, Hong Kong or Cayman Islands or I don't know what. And it's Iranian, but it's not going to show as Iranian, and it's going to look like a commercial vessel. And when they want to launch drones, the crew just takes them, puts them on the deck, and launches them. And they might fly them, within 3 or 4 and 5 miles of the boat until they get them all in the air. And then they start directing them towards the target they want them to go to. And by the time they get picked up by America, that warship is, 25 miles away in another direction. So, it's obviously a sign something's coming. It's probably not a warning anymore, because if it was a warning, it probably would have been a one-off event. But since it's repeating multiple days a week, and it's happening to U.S. bases in Europe, well, you better understand that this is somebody collecting intel on the American bases. And this is a rather bold move, and it doesn't seem at all to be like somebody's trying to create a deterrent for America. It could be, but I don't think so. These are the BRICS wars coming. So I don't know what, America's going to do in the future about these drones, but so far nothing. Like the border, they've done nothing against the border, and the border is ruining America. And it's still open, and they're still coming in, and they're not being stopped. So if you want to take a position that Biden is trying to change or destroy America, you don't listen to the words, you look at his actions. Somebody said quick question, but I don't see the question. Let's see. No, I don't see your question up. If you put your question up, let's see what we got here. Somebody wrote Revelation 2:9 to 3:9. Well, that would be a big deal to cover all that. So I've got my own agenda right now, so I can't deviate like that. Um, Okay. Let's let me look something up for you real quick. 2 John verse 9. Whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. Now you got to ask yourself if your church abides by the doctrine of Christ, don't you? Said if you do. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. If there come any unto you and bring not of this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. Well, that's why the JWs and the Mormons come to your house and your pastor tells you, let him in and give him a cup of soda or coffee or whatever and try to preach the gospel to him. Because according to 1 John verse 10, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. So they're setting you up to give place to the devil and their witchcraft to take hold of you then, because you're in sin. But of course, people are going to blame me for pointing this out, not for the church pastors that do it. For he that biddeth him Godspeed, that gives him a greeting, is a partaker of his evil deeds. So they come in here and they say it's somebody's birthday, give him a shout out. You see what they're trying to do? Get me to give some sort of greeting to some person I don't know and try to get over on me. Okay? That's exactly what they're doing. We must have seen it 100 times over the years. They have the same boring old stupid parlor tricks. It's so stupid. And they're so impressed with the powers of the unclean spirits. It's unbelievable. So we here are not ignorant of Satan's devices. Maybe the churches are, but we're not. Okay. So let me check my notes. I think, let's see what else I missed on Ukraine. The UN chief said, the head of the UN said that Israel should stop doing strikes, airstrikes in Syria, and get out of the buffer zone that Israel has. Well, that's him saying it, and Israel will and is ignoring it. Russia apparently struck some sort of deal with the rebels in Syria, HTS and the whole crew, because Russia is keeping their Navy air base on the Mediterranean in Latakia, Syria, as well as the Khomeini or Khomeini, whatever the heck it's called, air base, basically walking distance away from the Navy base. It's a very reasonable, logical assumption that there was concessions made by Russia for this. Okay. Now, what they are, I don't know. There could have been money. Russia could be paying them rent. They need money. So Russia could be giving them a few $1 million a month. So they might be able to make payroll or something. Russia could be giving them weapons, which is a dangerous game for Russia to play, but a possibility. Russia could have threatened them, which is another possibility, but rather unlikely. So we don't know what happened. I don't think Russia threatened them. I don't think they would pay attention to it. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. So something happened. Probably weapons transfer. Okay? And that is going to irritate NATO and America because they wanted to get rid of those bases that Russia had, and now they're not going away. Then we also read yesterday the rebels in Syria said they knocked down an American drone over Syria. I don't know how they did it, unless Russia gave them some weapons rather rapidly. Israel is saying now we destroyed 86% of the military equipment and infrastructure, etc., of the Syrian army that ran away. The drones over America are not a good thing for America, rest assured. Biden and the Pentagon saying they don't know much about it makes it very frightening. So you have to take a look at what Biden's doing, and when you're trying to figure out motive, you better try to incorporate the open border with it if you want to get anywhere with this and figure out where the motive really is. So the Ukraine war, beyond the shadow of a doubt, has potential to light up to something people like to call World War III. It really has potential. There's been people listening to what do they call it, EAMs and plane tracking and stuff like that. They're saying that the U.S. moved a bunch of cargo planes yesterday, which is large cargo planes likely carrying military equipment, and the planes were going to the Middle East and to Europe. So America's getting ready for more escalations, which is no surprise. Iran could even launch a bunch of drones off a big yacht. They could have bought a big yacht in Cayman Islands or some other crazy place, Panama, where they anonymously registered it to an offshore, bear share blind corporation. And it would be rather difficult to trace it to Iran. Not impossible, but difficult. And they could have bought a 250 or 350 foot yacht that's, 40 feet, 35, 40 feet wide, and put a whole ton of drones in there, and then just take them up from the interior of the yacht and fly them. That's another way they could have done it. Another way is if they had a decent submarine, which is questionable, they could have put a bunch of drones in the submarine, and then when they want to launch the drones, what they do is they just come up to the surface at night for a few minutes, maybe a half hour, an hour, whatever it takes them, probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And the crew gets the drones up and they launch them and they circle around the sub. And then when they get ready to deploy them into America, the sub goes back under the water, but it leaves its antenna up on the surface. So the sub goes down 20, 30, 40 feet under the surface, which means it's going to evade normal radar. And it sends the signals to the drone via antenna that are sticking out from the water. Or they launch the drones and the submarine goes away and, it drops down 300-400 feet. And then somebody else on another vessel has the radio equipment and it's directing the drones on another ship or from the land. They might have agents in a private house someplace or in an office building or whatever, and they're directing the drones from there. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to direct drones, Maybe after they launch the drones, they, covertly launch them, and America doesn't know the drones are launched until they approach American land. So then the boat goes away, and then they just, to, make sure nobody's tracking the drones back to the vessel, they just let the drones fall in the water. They bring them back over the ocean out, 25 miles or something like that, and just turn them off and they go down and sink. Or they might have small explosives that damage them. But I doubt that's the case. I think they retrieve them. I don't think they're just letting them go down. I don't think that at all. Oh, I've got a toss request for SS Sam Sam. SS Sam Sam. Toss for SS and family. So SS toss request for SS and the family. So Russia is readying IRBMs and planes with bombs to attack Ukraine. Is that going to bring a World War III? No chance. No. It's just standard operating procedure. It's nothing. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to discuss what's going on with Israel. We were bombing Damascus last night, which is crazy. So we'll try to come up with some why that's happening. So I should talk about, well, let's do Israel, then we'll go on to Snare, what the snare against America is. So why the heck did we bomb Damascus? I don't know. I haven't gotten through that. I haven't figured it out. The Lord hasn't showed it to me. But I told you the other day that tanks very close. Yesterday we were like 9 miles from Damascus with our tanks. You see, the rebels haven't really conquered Damascus. It's more like Assad's army are gone and Assad's government is gone. They ran away and dismantled themselves rather than fight. So it's more of that. So they've got forces in there, but not much. So I think, remember, they're only supposed to be 70,000. And of that, I believe 11,000 are ISIS. And these guys are running around with ISIS flags put on their uniforms. I put pictures on my Telegram. It's crazy. Did America use Al-Qaeda and ISIS to knock out Assad? It looks like it, but like I told you yesterday, America's trying to ride the tiger. And you got to be careful you don't wind up in the tiger's belly. So an American drone was knocked down by the rebels yesterday, and they also, at about the same time, made a deal with Russia to let Russia keep their bases in Latakia, Syria, the Navy base on the Mediterranean and the air base. Maybe other bases. You getting the picture here? Something's weird. Israel is saying they now have eliminated 86% of the Syrian army, bases, planes, helicopters, missiles, weapons storage, intelligence centers, manufacturing, weapons facilities. We'll probably be able to get up to 90-something percent. I don't think we're ever going to hit 100%. Maybe I'm wrong, but you're going to get a little bit higher. And why are they hitting Damascus? Who are they hitting? Assad's facilities in Damascus, I imagine, because they don't want the rebels to move in and set up shop. So did the rebels get stabbed in the back by America and Israel? It looks like it could be the case. I don't know. It looks very likely. And what about Turkey? Well, I don't know what Turkey's, Turkey is like Obama, I'm a Muslim. Yeah, him and Big Mike are Muslims. Okay. Did you ever see him go to a mosque or put down a prayer rug? Come on. Did Big Mike ever wear a hijab? Let's drop that, Big Mike used to go running in shorts and, an athletic shirt, that was just, let's see if Obama could pull the Muslims in, come on. So is Erdogan a Muslim? No, he's an espot. Of course he is, like the leaders of all the countries. They're just the game they play with their constituents is, the Quran and being a Muslim. They hoard money. They become billionaires. Come on. They're not, So, he acts like he's against America and NATO, but they never do anything to him, do they? No. So he could be, like, for lack of a better term, a double agent, trying to make the Muslims think he's their friend. So now the rebels are attacking positions held by the SDF, which is Syrian Defense Forces backed by America. So that means they're turning against America. Knocked a drone down, hitting positions that the SDF held and running them out of those villages. Crazy of crazy, 6 Druze, D-R-U-Z-E, villages in South Lebanon asked Israel to annex their villages. and make them part of Israel. So they're scared of the rebels, obviously. If we do that, which we might, the Druze are not terrorists. They don't rise up. You know, they're not like they work for you for 11 years and one day you turn your back and they pick up a hammer and hit you in the back of the head, like some radicalized Muslim might become a terrorist or something. So they're very loyal and faithful to Israel. So I don't, and they join the military, and I don't think, and they're good fighters, and I don't, very good fighters, and I don't think it would be any threat to Israel. So I don't know what Israel's going to do. The Druze in Israel are definitely going to want it, and I think if they do it, it's going to turn in the favor of Israel. But that's a big step. I don't know if Netanyahu's prepared or willing to take that step, but what the heck is he bombing Damascus for? This is out of, see, this is breaking the narrative that we're getting from our IDF, which is basically this. We don't know what the rebel forces in Syria will and won't do. So we have to take every step possible to protect Israel. Well, that sounds okay, right? Yeah. Are they doing genocide on civilians? No, not at all. They're just hitting buildings, basically, and vehicles and planes and ports, piers, ships. They're not killing people. If they are killing people, it would be military, but they're not. So they're going around doing that. There's still chaos in Syria, one group fighting another. So Turkey bad-mouthing Israel all the time for years with no activity behind it to back it up may just be he's like a double agent. Or maybe not, but I'm leaning more towards he's like a double agent. But still, I can't imagine him a friend of Israel. But then on the other hand, while he badmouths Israel and says he's not going to do trade with Israel, he does trade with Israel quietly. So he could be a double agent. So what is Israel really up to? Is it just protecting Israel? It could be, but it doesn't sound that likely anymore. You know? Why did America just bring more cargo ships of weapons, I'm assuming they were weapons, cargo planes, into the Middle East and Europe? Obviously, they're expecting war-type trouble. They wouldn't do it. So it looks like the rebels are now counter-turning against America. They're going to want America out. I've heard soft verbiage about that. They are, a lot of what happened with Russia and them is very concerning. They didn't just let Russia have the bases. Russia had to pay a price. The two things they need is money and oil. I'm sorry, money and weapons. The way they get money out of Syria is to throw the Americans out and take over those refineries in northeast Syria and start selling the weapons to the oil to whoever they want to, and start getting a good income and run the country. Assad taking $135 billion out of Syria, I'm sure bankrupted the country. Nobody in the media was talking about it. How the heck are they going to run a country that's broke? They've got to change the currency. You know, we haven't seen the UN recognize them as a nation yet. They might not. I don't know what the deal is with Damascus, why we were bombing it, other than the Syria I told you. And Israel's going to grab a substantial buffer zone, which I think could be used to expel the Palestinians from Gaza over there in refugee camps and get them out of Israel. and they would be de-weaponized 99.9%. When they got into the refugee camps, they would all be searched, and metal detectors and everything. And we would screen out any known Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad or Hezbollah or anything from these people. Put them in the refugee camps, which would have fences and guarded by Israel, so they'd get no weapons in. They wouldn't be allowed to leave the refugee campus, which would probably have some, outdoor places they could hang out in. Maybe something 200 yards by 100 yards or 500 yards by 300 yards so they could get outside. And I don't know. It's a burden to feed them and give them medical and clothing and electricity. I don't know how that would play out. I don't know why Israel would want to do that. Israel could just expel them into Syria and say, see you around the campus, and then we leave. That's another thing Israel can do. Just put them in there with Syria. That would be a little bit of a mistake because a lot of them would probably join the rebels, but a lot of them are the wrong kind of Muslim. So they might not be able to join the Sunni radical Muslims. I don't know. Nobody knows. Now, Israel said they have air superiority in Syria, and they do. And America. So we fly all over Syria now unchecked, and we don't have to be worried about getting tagged by a ground-to-air missile or anything like that. Now, that means we can... Now, Assad used to have early warning radar near Israel. So as soon as our planes started coming, he would be able to pick it up on radar and tell Iran or whoever, hey, they just launched 38 planes and, they're headed in this direction and blah, blah, blah. But that advantage that Iran had has been removed. Unless Russia decides to step in and help Iran and say, hey, the Zionists just launched 38 planes, which is a possibility. Russian ships could pick that up. Russian radar at the air base could pick it up. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Hang on a second. But I do know that the deal, whatever was the deal with the rebels in Russia, means the rebels are not interested in continuing with America and Israel. Now, I don't want to forget to tell you this, but the drone launches in America may not be coming from an Iranian or any other warship, and America knows it. And there could be a rumor that started circulating And what it can likely be is the sleeper agents living on China-owned land near military bases in the United States, where they can build a barn or a building and make drones. Only a maximum of 2 or 3% of the containers coming into America are ever searched. And they could just send drone components broken down into pieces to look like something else and send it in, and it works its way through corporations to these sleeper agents on the Chinese land, and they assemble the drones. They've had months and months and months to do this. So they could be launching it, and America's afraid to tell the people that's where they're coming from. So they started with this Iranian warship launching the drones, or some kind of drone launching mothership. Bear that in mind. Okay? That's another possibility, a likely one. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to come here and kick against America just for the sake of kicking against America. I'm trying to explain Bible prophecy to you, and America is the daughter of Babylon. And if I don't tell you that, I become as lousy as the pastors in the churches in America and around the world that won't tell you that. But it's, there's millions of people that understand that. Okay? So, I've done Bible studies on that so many times, I'm not going to go through another one. You can go through my YouTube videos, hit the live section. There's a line of topics across that says home, videos, live, hit live, and go through the titles and you'll see it. So we got to figure out what they're doing. I mean, Israel could be putting tanks around Damascus to keep the rebels from coming into Damascus, or they may not care if they come into Damascus. They don't want them getting out of Damascus close to Israel, so they have a 9-mile line, and they can't approach Israel through Syria because they have to get through the tanks, and the tanks have air support from Israel, so that's most unlikely. Israel blowing up the Russian bases at this time, most unlikely. Russia attacking Israel on behalf of the rebels at this time, rather unlikely. Motive for America and Israel to get rid of the rebels, there's only 70,000 of them. They're having a reign of terror in Syria. They're prosecuting people. They're going to go into massive genocide probably any day. They can't restrain themselves. They're going to go after the Christians, the polytheists, as they refer to them. And they're going to go after Druze. They'll go after, Sunni, Shiite guys. They'll go after everybody. And they'll divide the country up into complete disorder. And that opens the door. If Iran and Iraq sit still and just wait for all these rebel groups to knock each other's teeth out, right? It makes it monumentally easier for Iran and Iraq, with maybe the Houthis joining in, maybe Russia helping them, to take back Syria. Do you got that? And that could be a reason why Putin put Bashar Assad on ice in Russia, to bring them back in. And Bashar Assad emptied the coffers of the government to make sure they go into chaos a lot quicker. When things are in chaos, they're easily conquered. And America destroyed all the Syrian military bases, which makes it more difficult for Iran and Iraq to take over the country. They can't just move into the bases. They got no infrastructure for any military they put in there. So the military is going to be basically being quartered in people's houses because they threw them out of the house, or they're going to be living in tents and stuff like that, so it made it harder. But I think Israel and America are of the conclusion that if we leave these jackasses running around in Israel, in Syria, with all their private agendas against, we got to get rid of this kind of Muslim and that kind of Muslim and this infidel and that infidel, and they're running around wiping their feet on Bashar Assad's father's grave and burning it, all this emotional nonsense, knocking down pictures of Bashar Assad, all this stuff. They still haven't done anything to really move forward with establishing Syria. They made a flag. They put a guy with a $10 million bounty on his head in as the prime minister or the president of Syria running the show. The UN hasn't recognized it. The people are freaking out. They're throwing people out of their land, moving others in. Turkey is building buffer zones there. Israel's building buffer zones there. America's got a buffer zone called their 12 American bases. It's not really a buffer zone, but they got their piece. And they're not doing anything about it. And, it's a threat because it's so easily overthrown. So Israel could be looking at this and saying, we got to get rid of these morons. They're idiots. It started out, maybe America and Israel and the UK and Turkey said, yeah, let's bring them in and they'll get rid of Assad. And we can work with them. But I think now, if that is the case, and it likely was, they're coming to the conclusion that they made a deal with nincompoops that have so many side agendas of a genocidal hatred nature that they don't know what to do. And this kind of person is not happy unless he's murdering and killing and imprisoning and torturing and stealing land and other things from somebody at all times. They're not going to build up any industry in Israel. They don't know what industry is. You think they know what it is? We saw videos of these wahoos in a Syrian helicopter getting on YouTube and trying to fly the helicopter based on YouTube videos. Can you imagine what you're dealing with? It's pretty bad. And that could be what Israel's trying to do, but then Israel might be saying, wait a minute, let's just sever off a nice 35-mile piece of Syria near Israel so we don't let anybody get in there. And whatever happens in Syria happens in Syria. And that could be what it is. But I think now it's expanding. I think they might have been in that position a few days ago, but now an American drone went down. Russia's got their bases on the Mediterranean again, and it's not working. They're attacking the American-backed SDF and moving them out of their land. I don't think America and Israel are happy right now, and I think the rebels got to go. The most logical assumption for that, what comes next when the rebels go, and they'll go, they're not dug in deep enough. They don't have underground missiles. They don't have underground tunnels and bunkers. They don't have what to hold on with. Okay, tanks and aircraft, mow them down. Either they leave dead, feet first, or they leave out of fear. I don't know where they're going to go. They'll go where they came from, wherever that was. They came from someplace. They'll go back. Then who's going to run Syria? Well, probably it'll be busted up into pieces. Like we keep saying, Turkey will have their big buffer zone by the border. Israel will have a big buffer zone. America will create buffer zone for their military bases, and somebody's got to run it. So they'll try to get maybe the land broken up into pieces and each of the countries that receives a piece of Syria will be responsible for keeping law and order and protection there. So maybe Israel does want to grab Damascus. See, once somebody grabs Damascus, America likes to stay in the background. Once somebody grabs Damascus, then the rebels no longer conquered Syria. That's easy to understand because that's the capital. So that might be the game plan here. But I'm sure we'll find out in the coming days what the real deal is. I don't think Netanyahu has any aspirations of taking over all of Syria. I could be wrong. You see, why could I be wrong? Well, now, because we cleared out all the radar, early warning, and otherwise out of Syria, or almost all of it, and their anti-aircraft missiles, anti-missile missiles, and so forth, we can fly directly, quickly, and easily into Iran through Syria. We don't have to go out in the Mediterranean or go loop around. It's just a direct flight, right? And they can't do anything about it. They may not even know about it. They may hear the motors, and that's it. And I don't know who's going to tell Iran. They probably still have agents in Syria that may pick it up. I don't know. But so now Israel's saying we're going to hit Iran's nuclear facilities. That's what we're saying, and Netanyahu is. With what bunker busters? Well, maybe they're going to just use multiples of the 2,000-pound bunker busters. Like you want to hit a nuclear facility, hit it with 18 2,000-pound bombs or 45 2,000-pound bombs and demolish it. Now, what's that going to do? Well, how many of you think Iran is just going to sit still and they're going to get on the news and say, well, Israel hit on nuke facilities. What are you going to do? It's a crazy world. We'll rebuild. Be patient. It might only take 6 years, you know. Iran may try to do something to Israel, but they don't have the missiles and the ability to use radar to guide the missiles in, unless Russia decides to cough something like that up to them, which is a possibility. And Russia and Syria is a nemesis to Israel for sure. So this thing is getting crazy. Okay, you have to understand it. It's crazy. So I do expect Netanyahu will hit the nuclear facilities in Iran, and Iran is definitely going to try to do something. Maybe not immediately, but they're going to try to do something. One of the somethings they could do is, as Syria sinks deeper and deeper into chaos, is come in with Iraq and retake Syria. So Israel may try to create a line, 38 miles, let's say, into Syria, and Iran taking over Syria is going to be 38 miles away. That's not going to give Israel much comfort. If Israel goes maybe 60 miles away, it's way more comforting. In other words, a 60-mile buffer zone. Now, that's not going to stop Iranian longer-range missiles, but it's going to stop a ton of stuff. So I would expect after they hit the nuclear facilities, Iran will do something. Then Israel may very well So, guys, it's just we got to watch this thing here. I don't know exactly what's going on, and it's likely that Netanyahu is going day to day on this, or maybe a few days at a time, and they're watching. But the rebels got no chance of holding up with America, UK, and Israel pushing against them, even with Turkey. Turkey ain't gonna support a fight against Israel and America. That ain't gonna happen. I don't think. Not right now. Will Israel hit Iran? Yes. They said the nuclear facilities they will. I think they'll get around to the oil. Now, why? You see, this is the BRICS war. America's using the puppet Ukraine to damage Russia. They've hit several oil refineries in Russia already. And America wants to stop the ability of Russia to sell natural gas and oil in BRICS without using the US dollar or the euro. And to make that more effective, they got to stop Iran from doing it also. When they stop Iran and Russia from doing it, the UAE isn't going to do nothing, and neither will Saudi Arabia, and they'll just drift back to selling oil and natural gas in the US dollar and euro format again. That's all that'll happen. So if Israel knocks out the oil refineries and the piers and the ports they used to offload the oil into the tanker ships to sell to other countries, and they bust out a lot of Russia's oil and maybe take Russia out altogether, they've neutralized BRICS, and BRICS isn't going to happen. China and India buy massive amounts of oil and natural gas, and they'll do it with BRICS in a heartbeat without using the US dollar. They don't care. And then you've got Saudi and the UAE not accepting dollars or euros. The UAE is in BRICS already. So America will have thwarted that, and then we have to see if China and North Korea sit still. Or perhaps China and North Korea are going to see America and Israel getting deep into it in the Middle East and say now's the time to pop off on North Korea, South Korea, and Ukraine, and drag China, Japan into it too. So now America's got a Europe front with Russia, a Middle Eastern front, and an Asia Pacific front regarding North and South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, and the Philippines and Guam. And I don't think America can handle 3 fronts. Sorry. Especially since this NATO front could involve many nations. I don't see it. I don't see them making it. I think the attack on Iran is days away, and I don't think Iran's going to do much of anything about it. They're going to open up a big mouth and threaten. But what proxies are they going to direct at us? Iraq. So then we bomb Iraq. Iraq's not going to be much of a threat. So the rebels are saying we're liberating American-backed regions where the American SDF as controlling regions. They're liberating them and getting rid of the SDF. So the people are not under the SDF, which is under America. And I imagine that there's going to be more villages in Syria as the chaos continues that are going to ask Israel to annex it. Which I'm not so sure Israel's that interested. With the Jews, probably, but the others, I don't think they want them. Jews will live in peace with Israel. So now we're seeing Gaza is coming up with a ceasefire, well, the Hamas, where they're going to return 30 hostages, 4 being American passport holders, dual nationals. And they were allowing Israel to stay inside Gaza during this 60-day ceasefire. This is not what Trump wanted. Trump said that he wants all the hostages back. Now, we have not heard from, I haven't been able to read the details. I am not aware of, do they want us to give them 300 or 3,000 terrorist prisoners in exchange for the hostages? This is something that I don't know. I haven't read this proposal yet, but bear in mind it's nothing but a proposal. Israel might say all the hostages, but I don't think Netanyahu's in that kind of a position because there's so much pressure to get the hostages back. And then when the hostages come back, they'll be interviewed by the media, and the media is going to say how poorly they were treated in various ways, and that's going to cause more public opinion against them. Trump will rise up again, and so forth. So they're not meeting Trump's demand before January 20th. Because let's say they futz around for another week or 10 days, so now you're at kind of the end of December and they get a 60-day treaty, it would be past January 20th. All the hostages haven't come back, and Trump will start telling them, cut your junk out, and I want the rest of those hostages back in 48 hours, or we're going to make your life miserable. And I don't know what he'll do, but that's what. So I don't think Israel's going to say no to that because of the people that want those hostages back, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what their demands are yet. We got to see how this goes. Do I think there'll be a ceasefire? Yeah. So we might have that quiet period that we talked about where Elijah starts working and the temple comes in Malachi 3. And then we'll realize all these bad actors were left in place in the various countries and they rise up against Israel. And, or some of them may get destroyed before, like Syria is relatively destroyed, basically militaristically. Iraq and Edom, which is Yemen and Iran and Lebanon, and we've got to watch it unfold. Okay? But it's looking like more and more that'll happen. There'll be a period of peace when the temple can be brought down without taking rockets, missiles, drones, and Elijah can work. And when the Arabs see Elijah working in the temple, they're going to go nuts and, surround Israel the way siege Israel. Maybe Israel grabbed a lot of land in Lebanon by then and grabbed a lot of land in Syria and occupied Gaza by then. I don't know. And they want to stop it. Remember, the UN just said, get out of Syria, stop attacking Syria, get out of your buffer zone, which means the Golan Heights. And a few days before, or a week or two, they said we got to give the West Bank back and the Golan Heights side that we had, not the Syria side, our side back. And we can't go into Gaza. So they're cementing us in. The whole thing is moving to Zechariah 12. Now, I want to just reiterate, I'm not here just to grind an axe with America and, show you how bad America is. I'm trying to show you that America is the daughter of Babylon and the prophecies will be fulfilled. And what I'm going to do today, I never did before. I'm going to show you pictures of Masonic temples in America. And I'm going to show you government buildings and important buildings in America. And I'm going to compare them to the Masonic temple, and you're going to see they're the same. And they look like Roman and Greek temples, which I'll also show you. Okay, now a lot of people are going to say I'm kicking against America, and you could say that all you want, but what I'm really doing is trying to teach you the prophecies about the daughter of Babylon for your own benefit. But you can do whatever you want. If you're afraid of the truth, and you don't want the truth, and you just want to live in a delusion, go ahead. What is the percentage of Messianic Jews where in Israel? Tiny. Yeah. You know, there's churchianity Messianic congregations, which is, I don't know how true that is. There's a very small amount of Messianic Jews here. I don't know, 1%. You want to call me an old man? I block you so we'll never see you again. That's not a nice remark. That's an insult. It wasn't said in a nice way. Syria could be the new battlefield. Yes, it already is. What's up, old timer? That's like me saying, hey, you young whippersnapper, you don't know nothing. See, that's not nice commentary. Just get rid of them. They come in together, you notice that? All right, they're gone. All right, let's do the pictures. These people never contribute to anything other than snide remarks. I want to start with Trump's tower penthouse in New York City. If you look on the sides, you'll see pillars that are very much like Masonic pillars, as you're going to see. And Trump on his ceiling has murals of Zeus and mythological gods. You can see a little of it in that picture up at the ceiling. Most of the pictures that were up years ago saying Trump's apartment is set up like a Messianic temple, like a Masonic temple, and he has these mythological gods painted in murals in the ceiling have been removed from Google. Surprise, surprise. Jer.50, verse 38. A drought is, speaking of America, daughter of Babylon, a drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up, for it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. All right, now let's start getting some documentation. Let's go. Let me get a good shot here. Boy, it's not coming up. Let me try this. There we go. This is Columbus, Ohio, I guess, Masonic Temple. Notice the pillars. Okay? Let me show you some more. Here's another shot, and you can see it has that Tiffium, that triangular thing on top of the pillars. Remember that. Here's another one of their Masonic temples. I don't know where it is, but you could see it. The Tiffium, the pillars. and it has the Masonic logo and the Typhium. This is going to get a lot of people educated today, and it's probably going to get a lot of people nuts too. Here's another Freemason temple. This one doesn't have the Typhium. Wait till you see the Greek and Roman temples and how identical they are. Darn thing, what's the matter? There we go. This is an ancient Greek temple. Look familiar? Huh? Look like a Masonic temple, does it? Come on, what do you think? I don't know if I showed you this one, but there's another one, Masonic building. Now, we saw a Greek temple. Let's look at a Roman temple. Now, they all had pagan gods, right? Give me a second, I'll get them up. That's a good picture. Here's an ancient Roman temple. Note the Typhium, that triangular thing. Getting any familiarity with the Masonic temples yet? Are you? Well, some of these pictures are annoying to work with. It's annoying to get these things to work. All right, I got it. There's another Roman temple. Now let's start comparing with government buildings in America. Let's pick a fairly nondescript building that's not important. Just kidding. There's the United States Supreme Court. Does that look like a Masonic temple, a Greek temple, and a Roman temple? You're crazy if you think it doesn't. Typhium, pillars, everything. They are mad upon their idols. Now, you can get angry at me for bringing this out, but it's real, and I'm trying to help. Here's your Statue of Liberty. Notice the pillars. It too is a temple with a graven image of some flat-chested woman. There could be, I don't know what, holding the light. Come to me. I am the light. I will show you the way. You'll be free. Some woman that doesn't look like a woman. There's no coincidence there. Now, who is the woman? I'll show you. It'll just take a minute. I'll get it there for you. Here is Columbia Motion Pictures icon. Some flat-chested woman that I don't know if it's a woman, living on a pedestal up high, holding the light, come to me. What is the name of the capital of America? District of Columbia. Is Columbia in the 50 states? No. It's that great city in Revelation 17. Yes, it is. That's what they named it after, that stupid-looking, schmucked-out woman. You think it's the same thing? I do. It's a graven image. Now it gets deeper. Oh, they get deep, these people. What's the biggest stock exchange in the world? New York Stock Exchange. Gee, does it look like a Roman temple, a Greek temple, the Supreme Court building, and a Masonic temple? It does, exactly. This too is a temple. I used to work there in a summer job. As a kid, I got a summer job when I was in college, working in the New York Stock Exchange. And I saved the best for last. Oh, say, can you see by the door? This is the White House. It's not a Masonic temple. It's not a Greek Roman temple. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So if you want to go put your head in the sand and run around saying the United States isn't the daughter of Babylon, they're not mad on their idols, they're not evil and wicked, you're nuts. And you're going to die there. And if you want to pervert this and come after me for telling you the truth with evidence, a lot of evidence I just showed you, I could keep doing this for hours. The state capitol buildings around the country are the same way. They're temples. Okay? They got that stupid woman on the roof of the Capitol building, a statue with her with a bird on her head. Johnny Depp made a Lone Ranger remake movie with a bird on his head. You think it's not some sort of demonic idol to put a bird on the head like that? A dead bird, I believe. Come on. Come on. You can go listen to your pastor who's never going to tell you this. Or you can listen to your Bible and read Jeremiah 50 and 51. And America doesn't believe this is going to happen. Isaiah 47. I'm not going to do Jeremiah 50 and 51 because I've done it so many times. And you could find it in my YouTube. Isaiah 47. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. You see, they have the same unclean spirits in America that were in the original Babylon way back, which was the land of Iraq, basically Baghdad and stuff, right? Okay, so they got the same unclean spirits. How do you know? Well, the Greek temple, the Roman temple. Look at what they got. Even the White House is a Masonic Greek Roman temple. Come on. Come on, what do you think's going on here? You that dumb? You want to just come after me for exploring and explaining this to you rather than, you know, understanding it? That's not the right. Can't get this to work right. Let me keep looking. I want to show you something else, but I'm having trouble. Yeah, I gotta get a better image. Let me try harder. Here's one of the old Babylonian temples. You can see the pillars. Let's look for some others. This is hard to find because Babylon's been gone so long. Here's a much better image of the Babylonian temple, and you can see all the pillars. It's hard to see, but it appears it has a triangular typhium at the top, but it's not such a crisp triangle, but it's hard to see. I don't think it'll come off on the screen. And if you think Dome of the Rock doesn't have the same satanic pillars, you're wrong. The leaders of this religion are Satan bots. You see it? It's lightly concealed. Now I got a good shot of a Babylon temple. There you go. Is it good? Yeah, you got the Typhium, you got the pillars, just like the White House, New York Stock Exchange. Right there. Babylonian temple. Okay? So I made my point. Okay? Now you guys can go into denial on this stuff. But you're going to be very sorry. The Bible is always right. I've done this before with Greek and Roman temples, but the Lord showed me to do it with the Masons. And Trump's got his living room in his penthouse in New York City in Trump Tower set up with the pillars. And on the roof, he has pictures of pagan gods like Zeus or Apollo and all them. So if you're thinking this guy is different, you should be thinking harder. How did he become a billionaire? That ain't no Liberty Girl. You got it. Is it really a girl? It's a graven image, we know that. He's just there to, oh yeah, Trump, yeah. Flip coin agenda. Yeah, I got you on that. So, that's basically the view from here today. I hope this thing with the Masons and the White House and Trump and Greek and Roman temples really sinks in with you guys, because time is so short. The drones are flying over American military bases and airports. America's saying they don't know where they're coming from and this and that. Probably from inside America with the sleeper agents that Biden is to this very day still letting cross in. And he's flying them in from other countries and distributing them around the United States. They call him "Oh Biden." And if you wanted to destroy America covertly, just leave the door open like he did with the migrants. Trump admitted up to 30 million. An ex-Border Patrol guy said it could be between 30 and 50 million. So if we're going to go with the Donald, we got the low figure of 30 million. The Border Patrol guy said that there's 60 to 70% military age males, sleeper agents. So if we take the low figure Trump used, 30 million, and we take the low 60%, not 70%, you got 18 million. And there's your snare on America. Jeremiah 50, verse 24. I will read it. Oh, let me read it and then we'll go back to Isaiah 47. Jeremiah 50, verse 24. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware, right? Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Jehovah. And I'll do Isaiah 47 in a minute. Let me jump out for a second. So my best take right now of the snare on America would be the ones running it are with the beast, and they want to get rid of the whore because the whore has been a failure. Israel's growing stronger and stronger. Satan's not happy. Many people have come out of the church and are reading their Bibles and praying, and God's hearing them, and they're walking in more truth than they used to. Satan's not happy. Satan's not happy with the whore. None. The beast is not happy with the whore. The beast is closer to Satan. The whore rides on the beast. She dominates the beast. But that the beast eats her flesh and burns her. America gets destroyed by fires. The Lord says, I will kindle fires in and around her cities. Now, the people that invaded and have already invaded it, the sleeper agents, are going to kill a lot of people. You got to read Jer.50, 51. Don't read it once. Read it once a day for a week. And then you'll understand it better. Pray before you read it. In the name of Yeshua, the Messiah. Ask Father God Jehovah to open it to you. In the name of Yeshua, the Messiah. There's no J in the Hebrew alphabet, kids. The Messiah's name could never be Jesus, and Father God's name could never be Jehovah. Names mean something in Hebrew. Names don't mean anything when they have a letter J, because it doesn't exist in Hebrew. Okay, we'll go through Isaiah 47, and you'll see what's going on. It'll match rather well to current events. You know, if I just wanted to insult America, I'd talk about the Federal Reserve Bank, unfair Social Security, Obama health care, high taxes, you know, things like this. But I'm trying to show you God's got the place slated for destruction, and it's going to happen very, very, very soon. Not a year away, much less. I don't think it'll be anywhere near a year. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were the people that lived in Babylon that were basically witches, fortune tellers, soothsayers, and stuff like that. Like the entertainment industry, like Hollywood, like the music industry, like the government, like the heads of the corporations, on and on and on. Notice how they protect the Church of Satan, don't they, the government? There is no throne, O daughter of Chaldeans, for they protect every false church, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever, you know. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. They're not living as elite anymore, are they? Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, and pass over the river. So they're got to cross over the river and pull their clothes up, and that's like what a slave does or something. It's like insulting. You know, it's shame. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea. Remember we talked about the statue looks like a woman, but it's flat-chested. You get the idea? Your nakedness shall be uncovered. Wait till the nakedness of the world leaders gets uncovered, if you get my drift here. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, so you could start thinking about year of redemption, which is coming up real soon. Jehovah of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Gee, he didn't say the Holy One of the United States. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Well, the Egyptians went into darkness before they got severely punished, didn't they? O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Statue of Liberty, Columbia, District of Columbia, you get it? I was wroth with my people. There's almost as many Jews in America as there are here. And then we have to deal with lost tribes too, which are likely North American Indians, but that's another video. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance, the Jews living in America, and given them in thy hand. Thou didst show them no mercy upon the ancient, the old ones. Hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke? I grew up in America, in the Bronx, as a Jew, and there was rampant discrimination against us. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever. See, they don't think they're ever going down, but they are. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. See, the leaders at the high level, at the top, are taking it down. The other people think they're never going to go away. Therefore, hear now this, that thou art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that saith, and hey, there's wars all over the world. Hey, let's go to Disney. Let's go to Great America. Let's go to Dollywood. Let's go here. Let's go there. Let's go to Vegas. Let's go to the beach. Dwellest carelessly, that saith in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit a widow. That means no more married to the land. The land's gone. Neither shall I know the loss of children. No, those are the witches that run the country. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. See, when you read this with Revelation 17 and 18, in an hour, in a day, they get it. The loss of children, so a lot of people are going to get killed in one day. And widowhood, that they shall come upon thee in their perfection. For the multitude of thy sorceries and the great abundance of thine enchantments. That's how all the corporations sell stuff. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. They run on witchcraft. Thou hast said, none seeth me. They're wrong. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. Knowledge of the dark arts and evil. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. See, a lot of the people in America probably think they could handle China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, Belarus, Venezuela, Cuba, all at the same time. And that ain't the case. Therefore, their evil come, and look how many weapons America's given away to Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, Ukraine, Israel, and I don't know, Europe, and all that. What have they got, an unlimited supply of weapons? You think they got a Star Trek replicator? They just hit a button and say ICBM 900-pound warhead, and and then they have a missile? No. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. They're not going to know where it's coming from. They don't know where the drones came from, do they? I mean, they probably know. I think they came from inside the United States, from the sleeper agents. They're surveillancing the bases. They're getting ready to make their move. And mischief, that's trouble, it really means, shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. They're not going to get out from under it. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, in a day, in an hour, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thy enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. From thy youth. Let's think. George Washington was a Mason. They got pictures of him with the Masonic Mason in the White House in Washington, D.C. Oh, he's on the $1 bill. Oh, Ben Franklin on the $100 bill. He too was a Mason. Oh, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Oh, if so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. God's playing with them here. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. These jerks believe in this stuff. I met a woman many, many years ago when I just became a believer, and she was married to a guy who owned one of the largest corporations in America. I don't want to tell you what it was. A transportation company, huge, huge. And she told me he used to throw the I Ching coins to make decisions. They do this. They don't do it on TV. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before they. It says in Jeremiah, I will kindle fires in and about our cities. These preppers and stuff, the survivors are buying guns, ammo, food, and stuff like that. They should buy 75 fire extinguishers and maybe save their house or something, you know? Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. Well, when you start seeing the workers, agricultural workers from Mexico and stuff, go back home, then you're going to know how close we are. It says they leave because of fear of the sword. Those of you that survived the sword, let Zion come to mind. That's in there. The daughter of Babylon can't be Israel because it tells the Jews in Israel to leave and come to Israel. So don't be crazy about that. It says she sits on many waters. It can't be Rome. Rome's not on many waters. They got, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 bottles of holy water. They got a fountain or two. They got toilets, water fountains, urinals, sinks. They're not on many waters. Then they say it's in Mecca and Medina. And by the way, about 300 people live in the Vatican. That's it. And there's no Jews there. Okay? Mecca and Medina in the desert. How can they be on many waters? What kind of waters is America on? Oh, let's see. Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic, Pacific. You got the Great Lakes. You got about 8,000 rivers in America, and you probably have that many lakes. It says mixed people. America's the mingling pot. You could take some people to water, but you can't force them to drink. Other people, you could take them to water and they drink and they're grateful. The drones are a test. I think they're not a test. I think they're surveillancing for the sleeper agents. And China and Russia and so forth. The general public is very ignorant. Listen, if you went out on the street and you talked to people and said, You were going to take a beach vacation on the Indian Ocean in Indiana. Do you know how many people in America would believe you? Unbelievable amount. There was a guy that went out on one of the beach cities in America a few years ago. He did a survey. He had one of these chocolate bars this big, and he had something made out of solid gold. And I think it was a little gold bar, like a fourth of an ounce or something. It's worth hundreds of dollars, or maybe it was an ounce. I can't remember. And he asked the people, he said, would you like, what would you like as a free gift? This piece of gold, this gold bar, or the chocolate? And they all took the chocolate. The chocolate was worth $5 to $10. The gold at that time was probably worth $400 or $500. You really have to understand how dumb the average American really is. You do. You really do. The churches are about to fall apart. The churches are not yet circling the drain, but almost. All of them around the world, because the people in them are going to realize they've been lied to very soon. Very, very soon. And some are going to go into chaos and freak out, and some are just going to sit there and say, well, I just don't know, and there's going to be a small amount that are going to say, oh my gosh, I got to get away from these people. They're my enemy. And they're going to pray, and they're going to come to Israel. You see, if you're a true believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel, and all Israel will be saved. And you'll get out of there when the Son of Man appears in the clouds, which is a whole other Bible study. But we've covered it many times. You could find those videos. What we're headed to is Zechariah 12, not Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog says Israel's living in peace and safety without bars and walls, with great wealth and riches, cattle, gold, and silver. Yeah, we're living in peace and safety. The king, it's no man is coming here soon to do peace. It's a joke. They just got a ridiculous narrative that suits Satan's purposes. That's all. Puts the people to sleep. So when things start happening, which is going to be maybe in days or weeks or maybe a handful of months or something, not years. No, not years. They're going to fall away. They're going to go into panic. They're going to freak out. Will the survivalists shoot some of the enemy? Sure they will, I guess. But it says they're so scared they don't even come out of their holes to fight. Now that happened to the Jews. Okay, you saw that a lot in the 1939 into World War II. They were afraid to fight. They just went into the camps and stuff. Some rose up. But you saw that with in Russia, just before World War I, when they had the pogroms and the Jews were afraid to fight back. So this spirit, if you want to call it that, or a fear of fighting back, will be put on the Americans. I don't think they're going to fight back at all. They're just going to get too scared. But you're not going to convince many of these people of this. You're not. They're just dead bent, they're waiting to get caught away in their rapture while Israel gets punished. They're just looking forward to Israel getting their heads cut off if they don't take the mark, and going to the lake of fire if they do take the mark. So of course that means there'd be no Israelis left, right? There's either those that take the mark and they're doomed, and those that don't take the mark are going to have their head cut off. So they're basically preaching a narrative that there's not any more Jews, which is Satan's narrative, and this whole thing's completely false. It's down the road many years, and it happens to the nations, not Israel, but they don't know any of this. And Elijah's about ready to start working, and there's going to be another temple in Israel very shortly. You could read that in Ezekiel 37, the last 3 verses. I can't take you for a walk through all of prophecy in one video, but Guys, pay attention to the White House and the Masonic Temple and the Greek and the Roman Temple. This is not a coincidence. And Trump's house is not a coincidence. He's one of them. He's one of them. You got to understand that. He's a man. Cursed is the man that trusts in the man. Trust in Trump and you're going to wind up under a curse. He is just a man and he's not a good guy. How come he has 10 or 20 or 30 billion dollars and you got enough money to live for 10 days in your bank? Satan's the God of this age, not world, age. And the age is about to end. When Yeshua appears, it ends. Those that see him, that are believers, are going to have everlasting life right then and there. That's not that you can't die, you don't have a spiritual body yet, but you're going to live a long time, like before the flood. Read John 6:40, John chapter 6, verse 40. It's right in there. Read it with Zechariah 12, verse 10, and you see it happening. The church never teaches you that. Never teaches you that. And that's not my fault. I'm trying to educate you. You want to kick against me, you're basically playing into the ostrich study Bible. You take your head and stick it in the ground when things look bad, like an ostrich. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for our finances. Pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for better videos. Okay? My jaw almost is settled. Sometimes I go a day or two without it clicking. Now it's clicking again. I think when I talk a long time, it comes back. Then it settles down. But please keep the prayers coming. Chief's coming along nice, but the dog, please keep praying for him. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And that's it for today.